My girlfriend, who is 39 years old, and I, who am 35 years old, have been together for slightly more than a decade. In the spring of last year, after getting insanely mad at me for something kind of stupid, she disappeared for 6 hours with no contact, leaving me without my phone. Mine had literally just broken, and no car, which was in the shop, and our 2-month-old and 3-year-old children with me. She was originally going to take the kids with her, but wasn't telling me where she was going. So after I had a fit about taking my kids without telling me where she was going or when she was coming back, she left them with me. When she came home at 11:30 p.m., she slept in a different room. The next morning she got up, showered, then left again for another 6 hours. When she returned again, we had a fight about it, and she told me she did it as punishment, as well as saying that I don't deserve her. A month later, after asking me in a lighthearted seeming conversation who I would use a free pass on if given one, she actually offered me a free pass for 8 months. Weirded out by this, I asked her why, and she told me that it seems like I want more intimacy than what she is offering. Which isn't untrue because we have intimacy once or twice a month at most, and for most of the relationship it has been less. And I've complained about this, so she does know. At first, I thought she was messing around with me, but then after asking, she confirmed that she was seriously offering it. The only rules laid out were that it had to be in that 8-month period, not to get the girl pregnant, not to get sexually transmitted diseases, and she doesn't want to know about it. I wanted to ask for more specifics, but didn't want to come off as too interested, so I left it at that. Over the next 8 months, I never really used it because it was rather unrealistic for me to find someone for this when I'm constantly working and dealing with kids, and she always wants to keep tabs on where I'm at. Plus, I didn't really want intimacy with other people. I just wanted it with her more often, even if the thought was admittedly more than a little exciting. I did talk to a few girls briefly, text only, online when my libido was running high, but my guilty conscience always got the better of me. It still felt like cheating, and I felt like most girls saw through the pass as a guy trying to cheat and downplaying it, so I felt slimy. Plus, how do I do any of this without her knowing, as one of her rules was that she didn't want to know. It was stressful and felt disloyal. In the 7th month, I did meet with a stranger who was in my area for the night, for casual intimacy, but what was meant to be a one-night stand instead turned into me having a nervous breakdown and unintentionally making the poor girl my one-night therapist. Fast forward to now, having been bothered by all of this on nearly a daily basis, I just can't shake some of what was said and done out of my mind, and it creeps up out of the blue. I find myself constantly feeling anxious and stressed out sometimes about nothing in particular. Recently, we've seen a couples therapist using her 5 employee assistance programs through her work, but while it did help to strengthen our relationship a little, we didn't address the major issues, mostly because I was afraid to bring them up. I brought up the few fights we had around the start of the therapy, as we were both struggling to communicate effectively and were both making some pretty basic mistakes that our therapist helped us better navigate. She was already accusing me of telling on her by the 3rd session, so I never brought up anything big. I didn't bring up any of the above points, nor any of the ways she can get borderline emotionally and verbally hurtful if our arguments escalate. The thing is, I'm hurting here. I'm developing trust issues I didn't think I'd ever have. She's begun delivering food aside from her regular job, which puts her out and coming home at irregular, unspecified times. I truly believe she is honestly just delivering food, nothing nefarious, but anxiety is kicking in hard despite that. I also believe she didn't cheat when she left for those 12 split hours, but I can't quite convince myself 100%. She claims to have gone to a discount store in a town 40 minutes away from us, but it doesn't feel like that accounts for 2 back-to-back 6-hour outings. That slight doubt, coupled with the realization that she is willing to punish me as she sees fit and has told me I don't deserve her, sometimes is enough to put me in a nearly crippling state of emotional dysregulation if I let my mind linger on it. Then, just a few days ago, she had me download a driving app, which tracks your trips. when I praised her on how her driving was better than mine, and how I was surprised she didn't have more speeding tickets since she claims to always drive 9 over. She asked me, "You're looking at my trips?" with a surprised expression. It automatically showed both our vehicles until I figured out how to have it sort for just mine, which I told her. Since then, her trips are suddenly not recording, and she doesn't seem at all concerned or interested in trying to fix it. I'm trying hard not to feel suspicious. So this is where you all come in, hopefully. I have 3 employee assistance programs through my work that I can use for either solo or joint therapy. I don't know if I should stick with the therapist we've been seeing and bring these things up. I feel guilty doing so, because it felt like we've created this sort of bond with the therapist, and I'm going to be airing out dirty laundry all of a sudden. Not my intent at all, but I need help before I lose all sense of who I am. Since I only have 3 free employee assistance programs and don't want to pay for more sessions, it saves a lot of trouble and time dealing with a therapist we like that already has some of our history as clients. Or should I find a completely new therapist to go solo with, so as not to damage my significant other's reputation with her? I'm afraid I'm going to waste an entire session just on introductions, explaining things we already told the First Lady, and possibly not like them. Do I try to talk about these things, and not for the first time for most of the issues, with my significant other first, before bringing things up in therapy? I'm afraid of her turning straight to, "I think we should break up," like she has on some of my previous attempts to have a heart-to-heart about our more serious problems. Just unsure what the most appropriate approach is for this, especially since my significant other already called me out on bringing up things about her to the therapist and mentioning things that were her place to bring up, not mine. I never realized there was this delicate dance around what should and should not be spoken to a therapist, and by whom. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, just my 2 cents here. But it is very likely she had an 8-month affair and offered you the 8-month hall pass as a means to level the playing field. She felt guilty and thought that would make her feel better. It also explains why you weren't getting much intimacy. She was getting most of her intimacy needs met by her affair partner and was only having pity intimacy with you every couple of weeks. Everything adds up. When women are involved in affairs, a lot of the time they'll be inconsiderate and downright mean to their significant other. They do this so that you'll not want intimacy with them as often, because ironically, they don't want to cheat on their affair partner with their significant other. It's the way of the world, brother. It is what it is. Comment 2. Well, I think you need to seriously consider the possibility that she cheated on you or otherwise put herself in a position that you wouldn't be happy about. No one gives a hall pass out like that unless they are harboring some extreme guilt about something. It's hard to tell how your relationship actually is from one post, but I would be trying to get a hold of her phone when she's sleeping because it's pretty obvious to me she did something she is not proud of. And no one offers a hall pass like that without doing something that would make them feel unworthy. I doubt she'll be honest with you. You're going to have to find out information on your own. Now, for the update. My last post was honestly a bit of a mess. I didn't even know what I was going to do. Well, I got a bit of a wake-up call. A day after my last post, I felt like I needed to deal with things. I couldn't just keep on sitting here, hoping that everything would get better. I decided to check the driving app again. I was hoping that maybe all my suspicions were just a product of my own anxiety. I mean, I wanted to be wrong about all of this. But of course, I wasn't. I found a trip that didn't make any sense. My girlfriend had driven to a different city late at night. Yeah, that same city where we used to live. I was just sitting there, watching TV with her that night. I just casually asked her about it, you know? I was trying not to sound too suspicious or anything. She just brushed it off, claiming she was delivering food in a new area. That sounded pretty weird to me, but I didn't want to push it too hard. I just couldn't shake the feeling that something was off, like something was really wrong. So I paid even closer attention to her patterns. I mean, I didn't want to come off as a complete psycho who was watching her every move, but I had to know what was going on. Then we had a family dinner at my parents' house. I noticed how distracted she seemed, and my brother Jake even made a comment about it. He said something like, "Why is she always on her phone?" That kind of ticked us off at first, and we ended up arguing a bit. But after dinner, I heard her whispering on the phone in the kitchen. She sounded anxious and defensive. And you know what? That just made me feel even more suspicious. The next day, I decided to use a tracking feature on our shared phone plan to see where she went during her trips. I found out she'd been spending time at a hotel not too far from our house. When I confronted her about it, she just changed the subject and acted all evasive. At that point, I was pretty frustrated, so I decided to go to the hotel. I pretended like I was picking up food for her. As I pulled up, I recognized a familiar car in the parking lot. Guess whose car? My younger sister's. That old knot in my stomach came back, and I asked the receptionist if my sister was staying there. She confirmed that my sister had checked in a few hours earlier, and guess what? My girlfriend checked in with her. I couldn't just confront them right then and there, so I decided to wait outside the hotel. I kept my distance, but I wanted to see what happened next. A little while later, I watched as my girlfriend and sister came out together, laughing and holding hands. They walked to the car, and I'll tell you what, I felt this surge of anger. It was like I was about to explode. I knew they were hiding something big. Instead of confronting them, I snapped a few pictures to have proof of what I was seeing. The next day, I called a family meeting. Yeah, I invited my parents and siblings over because I had to talk about this. I shared the photos I took, and let me tell you, the room fell silent. My parents looked shocked, while my brother and sister tried to defend themselves. I confronted my sister about her betrayal. I demanded to know how long this had been going on. She admitted it had started months ago, claiming she fell in love with my girlfriend. This news just caused a lot of drama in our family. It led to arguments and accusations flying everywhere. I decided to take a step back from the chaos. Everyone needed some time to process what had happened. A week later, I got a text from my girlfriend. She asked to meet up and discuss everything. I agreed to meet her at a local diner where we had shared many memories. When she arrived, I laid it all out for her. I went through her lies, the photos, and my sister's betrayal. Instead of apologizing, she tried to justify her actions, and that led to a heated argument. I stood up and announced that I was done with the relationship. The next day, I filed for separation. I made sure my girlfriend understood the consequences of her actions. Now I'm just focusing on co-parenting. I'm determined to keep the peace for the sake of our kids. I can't believe how far I've come since this all started. I really thought I couldn't live without her, but honestly, life feels so much better without all that drama. I never thought my sister would betray me like that, but I'm glad I found out. Now I know I deserve someone who's all in and not hiding stuff from me. Thanks for all the support and advice you guys gave me along the way. It's helped me more than you'll ever know. Take care, everyone. Edit. I didn't tell my parents about the rough patch my girlfriend and I were experiencing. I didn't want to worry them or make things worse. My brother Jake was aware of our troubles, but I hadn't told him about my suspicions. My sister and my ex broke up soon after my confrontation. Am I the idiot for confronting my partner about his corn addiction and setting boundaries for our relationship? I guess where I'll start with this is that my partner and I have a child together that we conceived by accident. Before the baby, we were together for 2 years, and it was serious, but neither of us was really sure about forever together. I say this because I understand my mistake in falling for starting a family and making a lifelong commitment to someone with a tendency that I knew about before but chose to ignore. My partner has a corn addiction. Before people have to say that I invade his privacy, he has given me permission to look at his phone whenever I want because he has nothing to hide. Some of this I know because it's just on normal screens that are on often. More specific details I know because I wanted to know if I have to wait for a recharge, period, and to see if he was actually doing this instead of helping me with our child. He has several apps he uses on his phone, but also prefers his laptop. He has confessed to using it in the bathroom or in a work vehicle on the clock. He uses it inconspicuously while I am getting myself and our child ready in the room beside him. Seemingly, he uses it every time he is left home alone. He uses it while I am putting our child to bed. He uses it in the morning even though I need his help getting things ready. And that's just corn. All of his casual social media is full of thirst trap content. He is also addicted to TikTok and goes through at least one, usually more, intimacy account every day. Sometimes he even copies the username to look up unclothed pictures. After watching a movie together, he will look for unclothed pictures of the actress as well. In the past, I knew of this to a lesser degree, and it really didn't affect me as much. I just didn't think it was my business because we were just young people dating. He wasn't doing this while I needed his help with our child. He was doing it on the job, but now that my family relies on his job, I actually care that he doesn't get caught and fired. We didn't live together, so it wasn't happening while I was literally present. My point is, it affects me in many ways now, but most of all, my self-esteem. I have recently finished breastfeeding our child, and my breasts are deflated as hell, to say the least. I have lost all of the pregnancy weight, and I am right back to where I was pre-pregnancy, very thin, BMI 17. The relationship situation aside, my self-esteem is quite low these days as it is. But then you tack on the fact that he is watching larger body types all day, and it just unalives me. I am self-conscious about getting dressed and showering. I am self-conscious about cuddling. I am very, very self-conscious during intimacy. I can hardly enjoy it. Hell, I am self-conscious just existing around him. Here's the ringer. He tells me how attracted he is to me and how beautiful I am all the time. We have intimacy multiple times per week. He doesn't have a hard time finishing. He actually finishes too fast for my taste usually. He tells me the online stuff isn't real to him and has nothing to do with me. And honestly, I believe him. On top of all that, he is very affectionate, kind, caring, and he makes sure mine and our child's needs are taken care of. I have very clearly stated how all of this makes me feel. And of course, he thinks any infringement on his use is controlling. On one hand, I certainly agree. I think masturbation is normal, and I have no right to tell him not to, especially when we have an active intimacy life. On the other hand, risking being fired or while he should be helping with the child is just wrong to me. I have explained how this affects my comfort level with him, and he says he is sorry it makes me feel that way, and reiterates it has nothing to do with me. Even if I could set a boundary not to do this when I need help, and he actually followed through, I just don't know what to do about the self-esteem part of this. Because as I said, it is not just masturbation. It is obsessively looking at women with bodies nothing like mine. Why is his reassurance and him obviously being attracted to me not enough? Every time he feels me up, I just think, I bet you wish there was more there, like the girl you just spent 20 minutes watching. This seems like a me problem that is being exacerbated by a him problem. After all the anguish with this between us over time, I don't have much hope he will improve his problem. I also have no clue how to fix my problem, because no matter how much I eat and exercise, I'll just never get the womanly curves that are glorified everywhere I look. What do you think would improve this situation? Aside from getting a breast augmentation, ending my relationship with my best friend, and breaking up my family over this shallow issue. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. If he's giving you as much or more attention than you need or want, and it's not impacting his contributions to your family or his work or anything, then you probably just need to communicate to him how it's bothering you and make him understand that you need for him to keep it more private. There are all kinds of weird hormonal things that happen with brand new first-time parents though, and it's likely that in a year this will seem like it was nothing. But a year can be a long time, so communication is important. Comment 2. Coming from someone who was in a long-term relationship with a corn addict, just break up with him, please, for your own sake. I struggled with an eating disorder and body image issues as a result, and his issues affected our relationship so much. By the end, I barely recognized myself. I was a shell of the confident woman I used to be. It took 2 years of therapy to undo. Just save yourself further harm and leave. Now for the update. It's been a little over a month since my last post, and things have gotten worse. My partner's addiction to corn continues to create issues in our relationship, to put it lightly. I noticed my partner spending more time online late at night, which made me suspicious. I know that people use the internet for many things, and I'm not naive to think he's never looked at anything inappropriate, but the amount of time he was spending on it during these late hours was alarming, especially given our situation. One evening, I found him on his phone while I was in the nursery with our child. I confronted him about it, and he dismissed my concerns, saying he needed his space. I know this space is something he created by isolating himself from me and our child, but apparently, I'm not allowed to have any space of my own. Things got really bad during a family birthday party for my sister. My sister invited the whole family, including my parents and my brother's family. It was a nice get-together where everyone was in good spirits and enjoying each other's company. During the party, I overheard my brother mentioning how he caught his wife watching a series that included adult themes. My brother laughed it off, but it made me realize how normal these conversations are. My brother didn't know the context of what he was saying, but I did. I wanted to discuss my situation with my family, but I hesitated. After the cake was served, I stepped outside for some fresh air. My partner followed me out and asked what was wrong. He got defensive and insisted that he had everything under control. Later, my mom pulled me aside to ask if everything was okay with us. I explained the ongoing issues, but didn't go into details about the addiction. My mom offered support and suggested we all go on a family trip to clear our heads. I thought a change of scenery might help, so I agreed. We planned a weekend trip to a cabin by the lake, leaving the following Friday. The week leading up to the trip was filled with issues. My partner seemed distant. He was more concerned about his work than our family. On the drive to the cabin, he spent the entire time on his phone. I finally asked him to put it down and focus on our family. He reluctantly complied, but I could tell he was annoyed. Once we arrived, the family began to settle in and enjoy the surroundings. My partner and I shared a room, but he stayed up late on his laptop. I confronted him again, this time about his lack of interest in family activities. He argued that he needed downtime, but I felt abandoned. The next morning, my brother suggested a group hike, and everyone was excited except for my partner. He refused to join us, saying he'd rather relax at the cabin. During the hike, I shared my concerns with my sister, who listened intently. When we returned, my partner was in a bad mood and said he felt left out. I pointed out that he chose to isolate himself instead of spending time with family. The argument got worse, and he stormed out of the cabin. My sister encouraged me to set firm boundaries regarding his behavior. That night, I decided to take a stand and told my partner I couldn't continue like this. I explained that I needed him to be present or we needed to reevaluate our relationship. He seemed surprised but didn't respond immediately. The next day, he apologized and promised to make changes. We spent the rest of the trip working on communication and reconnecting. A week later, he shared that he had sought help online for his addiction. I can't say I'm not nervous about this whole thing. It's been a rough journey, but we're trying to work through it together, and at least he's trying to get help. I just hope this isn't one of those empty promises and that he's actually serious about making changes. I want my family to be whole and happy, and I'm willing to fight for that. Anyway, let's see where this goes. Wish me luck. Edit. It's been a few weeks since my last update, and progress has been slow but steady. My partner has been attending online support groups and is more open to discussing his addiction. He acknowledges its impact on our relationship and is committed to rebuilding our connection. We've started couples counseling, which has helped us communicate better. My self-esteem is gradually improving as well. We're not perfect, but we're working on understanding and supporting each other through this journey. Am I the idiot for dumping my cheating boyfriend after catching him on Facebook dating? My boyfriend and I were in bed together 2 evenings ago and went through our usual routines of being on our phones and checking social media before bed. He went onto Facebook, and I glanced over and saw a notification from Facebook Dating, but I didn't question him on it as I wasn't completely sure. We've been together since May, and he's consistently told me he wants to marry me and spend his life with me, and that he can't wait to even introduce me to his son, who is 5 years old. I looked at his phone yesterday while he was in the shower, and lo and behold, he's getting matches on Facebook dating. His profile has been active since before we were together. He never deleted it, despite telling me he had deleted all dating apps a week before we officially started dating. Then I found that he's messaged people as recently as August 9th, while I was on holiday with my parents. He's trying to excuse it with comments like, "We had an argument and you made me feel like crap," and "I only messaged them about their dog and I never replied when they replied. And I didn't know it was Facebook dating, I just thought it was a part of Facebook." He's not that clueless. He's in his final year of a psychology degree. The most recent messages I could find on there were to 2 different girls, one on August 2, the day after I left his place after staying there for nearly a month, and then one on August 9th. However, he did get a match with one girl on the day in question, and another match while he was downstairs sitting with my parents while I was in the garden playing with my puppy. He's known for our entire relationship that one of my biggest fears is not being good enough for him or being enough in general, thanks to my low self-esteem from being cheated on in most of my relationships. I asked him if he could prove to me that he's not on any dating apps or has even remotely flirted with any other girls other than the 2 people from Facebook dating, and he refused. He promised he hadn't, but he refused to show me anything, which makes me feel like he's hiding something, but he insists he isn't. He said he didn't want me digging through his life for the past 5 months looking for something that isn't there. Something in me is saying, if he's done this when we've argued, and he's run to a dating app without hesitation, there could be more that he's hiding. I want to believe him. But because of my history of being cheated on, it's incredibly hard for me to trust people, especially on something like this. He gets incredibly defensive and annoyed when I ask for proof or even when asking for reassurance. We both have borderline personality disorder, so I understand that it's annoying to hear the constant need for reassurance when someone won't take you at your word. And I understand he's been through hurtful relationships where people controlled him and checked everything he ever had, including his phone, day in and day out, and wouldn't let him go anywhere, to the point police were involved. I don't want to be that person and check his phone, even just once, but I feel like he's hiding something more. He didn't even try to defend our relationship or anything when I told him that this was cheating. He only said sorry and that he loved me when I prompted him to say it by asking if he still loved me and wanted me and our relationship. He got annoyed when I even made him promise last night that nothing like this would ever happen again. My question is, how do I know he isn't hiding anything else? How do I approach any of this in any way? How do I know if I'm being manipulated and treated as gullible? I've been cheated on a lot, but there's always been more substantial evidence, or they've just left without explanation. I don't know how to navigate this. I don't know if I should trust him. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I'm just saying, I'm strictly monogamous and believe cheating is wrong on every level. I would never even glance at a dating app while with my boyfriend. The fact that he has been making matches and is active on them should tell you all you need to know. Comment 2. He's trying to excuse it with mentions like, "We had an argument and you made me feel bad." So every time you have an argument, he can continue looking for another woman? No. Stop this now. This will never end well. Now, for the update. A month has passed since the whole dating app drama. I thought maybe if I talked to him about it again, I could get some clarity. So I decided to confront him during dinner at this cute Italian place we used to love. He was all smiles, but the moment I brought it up, his mood soured. He claimed he deleted the app and literally asked me why I was still bothered by it. Like, really? He's still this clueless? I kept thinking about how he's been so distant lately. It's like he's in the same room with me, but his mind is somewhere else, probably glued to his phone. Even during dinner, he was just scrolling away. I suggested we spend the weekend together to make up for lost time, and he says he has plans with his son. I mean, I get it, but it just felt like an excuse, you know? We went to this family gathering for my aunt's birthday. She was turning 50 and wanted all of us there. I thought it would be nice to celebrate with family, but there I was, in the middle of the party, and he was texting under the table like a teenager. I couldn't take it anymore and asked him who he was messaging. He snapped at me, saying it was none of my business. The entire table went silent, and I could feel everyone's eyes on us. It was so awkward, like a scene from a bad reality show. After dinner, I stepped outside to call him out on his behavior because I was done pretending everything was okay. He accused me of ruining the evening, which was so typical of him. I told him I needed space to think, and he just stormed off. The next day, he showed up at my apartment with flowers and an apology. He was all like, "I want to work things out." I accepted the flowers because it's hard to say no to a bouquet, but I felt uneasy. It was like he had forgotten the whole reason I was upset in the first place. A week later, we went to a friend's wedding together. I was hoping we could have a good time and put everything behind us. But nope, he was acting all buddy-buddy with this female guest. They were laughing and whispering, and it made my skin crawl. I approached him and asked what was going on. He brushed it off, saying they were just having fun. I could feel the anger boiling inside me, but I tried to keep it together. After the wedding, we went home and I confronted him about the flirting. He denied doing anything wrong and accused me of being insecure. That's his favorite line, by the way. We ended up in a heated argument, and it just felt like we were going in circles. I knew I needed to take a break from this drama, so I decided to stay with my sister for a few days. During my stay, I saw on social media that he had been out with friends. He looked so carefree, like he didn't have a worry in the world. Then I saw this comment from a woman on one of his pictures. She was like, "Had the best time with you," and I just lost it. After a few days, I returned home and found a letter from him in my mailbox. The letter was filled with empty promises to change, and I just rolled my eyes. At a family dinner for my brother's promotion, he showed up uninvited. My mom was so happy to see him, but I was like, oh hell no. He wanted to talk, but I made sure to keep it short. He mentioned how he missed me, but he still didn't understand why I was upset. I finally told him that I didn't trust him and needed to prioritize my own well-being. He got all defensive again, saying he's done nothing wrong. After that dinner, I made my decision. I was done. I packed his things and left them at his door. I wrote a note saying I couldn't keep pretending. He messaged me, saying he was sorry and wanted to talk, but I didn't respond. A few days later, I saw him out with the same woman from the wedding. They looked so intimate, and it hurt. But honestly, I was more focused on my own life. I reconnected with my friends, started going to the gym, and just enjoyed my independence. Later on, I got a message from him saying he wanted to get back together. He claimed he changed, but I knew deep down that there was no turning back now. Mini update. After the breakup, his friend reached out, sharing details about his ongoing dating app use. I learned he had been unfaithful during our entire relationship, confirming my worst fears. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.